Have you ever found yourself standing at the precipice of a connection that felt destined, a bond that whispered of something deeper, something beyond the fleeting passions of ordinary romance, only to watch it slowly, inexorably unravel? Perhaps you've walked this path before, a familiar ache settling in your chest as the echoes of past disappointments resound, each new relationship seemingly a variation on an old, painful theme. You embark on a journey of the heart, convinced this time it's different. This time it's truly spiritual, a meeting of souls. Yet, as the initial glow fades, a chilling pattern emerges. The same anxieties, the same feelings of unworthiness, the same silent question, what did I do wrong? For the introspective woman, the one who seeks not just companionship, but a profound spiritual resonance in her partnerships, this cycle is particularly agonizing. You yearn for a bond that nourishes your soul, a connection built on mutual respect, deep understanding, and an unwavering presence. But too often, the reality falls short. You find yourself navigating the treacherous waters of emotional unavailability, the unsettling silence of a partner withdrawing, the sting of feeling like an option, never truly the unwavering choice. This isn't about superficial dating games. It's about the very core of your being, about the deep-seated desire for yourself to be seen, honored, and loved in its entirety. The modern narrative of love often promotes a seductive illusion that true love means finding someone who completes you, someone who fills the voids within, someone who is the ultimate source of your happiness and security. We are taught to seek a soulmate, a twin flame, a mystical other who will unlock our highest potential and banish all loneliness. And while the heart naturally yearns for connection, this very yearning, when misdirected, can become the fatal flaw, the subtle poison that slowly erodes even the most promising relationships. It is a mistake so pervasive, so deeply ingrained in our collective consciousness, that it often goes unnoticed, masquerading as pure devotion or intense love. Yet, it carries the power to derail not just romantic connections, but also our personal evolution, binding us to a cycle of attachment and suffering. This fatal mistake, often unseen, is precisely what the ancient wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita speaks to, offering a profound teaching that transcends the superficial advice of getting him to commit, or learning to love yourself more without true understanding. It is a teaching rooted in the very nature of the self, of will, and of our purpose in this existence. The Bhagavad Gita, a timeless dialogue between Arjuna and Krishna, reveals the blueprint for living a life of spiritual integrity and unwavering peace, even amidst the most tumultuous battles, including those fought within the landscape of our own hearts. It does not speak in terms of relationship tactics, but in terms of inner mastery, of liberating the self from the illusions that bind it. The pain you feel, the gnawing anxiety when he pulls away, the crushing disappointment when expectations aren't met, the frustration of feeling unheard. These are not simply reactions to external circumstances. They are the echoes of a deeper identification, a profound misplacement of your sovereign self. You are not broken for feeling these emotions. You are merely caught in a familiar pattern of identifying your intrinsic worth, your peace, and your very identity with the outcome of an external relationship. This pattern, while intensely personal, is also universal, a thread woven through countless human experiences. Consider the anxiety that washes over you when your message goes unanswered, or the obsessive thoughts that consume your mind as you replay every interaction, seeking clues, trying to decipher his intentions. This is not love. This is the mind, undirected by the sovereign will, clinging to a projected future, a desired outcome, as if your very existence depends on it. The Bhagavad Gita calls this kama, desire, attachment to the fruits of action, a binding force that prevents us from realizing our true nature. It teaches us that true liberation, true peace, comes not from securing a specific outcome, but from performing our dharma, our divine duty, with detachment from the results. In the context of relationships, this means cultivating a connection not for what it can give us, but for what it allows us to become, and for the conscious exchange of energy it facilitates, without demanding a specific return. We are not here to offer you quick fixes or shallow tips to manipulate a man's affection. That path only leads to more emptiness, more self-abandonment. Instead, we invite you on a journey inward, a journey guided by the lucidity of Raja Yoga and the profound wisdom of the Vedas. This journey is about understanding the true nature of your sovereign self, and reclaiming the inherent power of your will. It is about dissolving the illusions that compel you to seek your completion outside yourself, and instead, realizing that you are already whole, already complete, already the source of the love you seek. The secret teaching of the Bhagavad Gita, the fatal mistake it warns against, is not about what he does or doesn't do. It is about where you place your attention, your worth, and your inner peace. It is about the illusion that another person can be the sole architect of your happiness, rather than a mirror, a catalyst, or a fellow traveler on the path. This episode will guide you through understanding this profound teaching, identifying its subtle manifestations in your relationships, and ultimately, reclaiming your emotional sovereignty so that love, when it comes, can truly flourish in freedom, not in chains of expectation. The relentless pursuit of external validation, the subconscious belief that our peace, our worth, or our very identity is contingent upon the actions, presence, or approval of another, is the subtle, pervasive error that corrodes the very essence of spiritual relationships. This is not merely a psychological tendency. It is a fundamental misidentification of the self, a foundational misunderstanding that the Bhagavad Gita meticulously dissects. The fatal mistake is attachment to the fruits of action. In the realm of relationships, this means an insistent clinging to specific outcomes, a commitment, a grand gesture, a permanent presence, a feeling of being chosen above all others. When your inner state, your joy, your sense of wholeness becomes entirely dependent on these external manifestations, you have, in essence, surrendered your sovereignty to an external variable. Consider that familiar knot in your stomach when he pulls away, that sudden void when his attention shifts, the desperate need to fix something, to do more, to be more, to ensure his continued presence. This is the mind, untamed, by the will, reacting to the perceived threat of loss, equating the potential absence of an external relationship with the loss of your intrinsic worth. It is the ego, the non-you, clinging to a narrative of scarcity and incompleteness, rather than the you, the sovereign self, which knows its own boundless nature. The Bhagavad Gita states, "To action alone hast thou a right, and never to its fruits. Let not the fruits of action be thy motive, nor be thou attached to inaction." This verse, profound in its simplicity, offers the antidote to this fatal error. It calls us to engage in our dharma, our righteous action, our highest purpose, without being enslaved by the outcome. In the context of relationships, your action is to be your authentic self, to love with an open heart, to communicate truthfully, to cultivate your own inner world, and to extend kindness and respect. Your dharma in a connection is to be fully present, consciously engaged, and aligned with your highest truth. However, the fruit of this action, his response, his commitment, the relationship's longevity, its specific form, is not within your ultimate control. The fatal mistake is to demand that the fruit ripen exactly as you wish, and to allow your inner peace to be shattered if it does not. This is where the wisdom of Raja Yoga converges with the Vedic teaching. The mind, with its incessant desires and projections, must be brought under the benevolent command of the will. Think of how often you find yourself trying to manifest a specific romantic outcome, or strategizing to elicit a particular response from him. This is the mind, driven by attachment, attempting to control the external world to satisfy an internal craving. Yet, true power, true manifestation, flows from a state of inner congruence, from a self that is rooted in its own sovereignty, not from a mind desperately grasping at external results. When you are attached to the fruit, your actions become tinged with anxiety, expectation, and a subtle energy of demand. This is often what creates the very distance you fear, as it subtly communicates a lack of wholeness within, a quiet desperation that the you transcends. The subtle trap lies in believing that if you just do everything right, be independent, be loving, be understanding, then he must respond in a particular way, that the relationship must evolve according to your script. This is an identification with the non-you, with the limited mind that believes it can dictate the universe. The you, the true self, understands that relationships are fields of experience, opportunities for growth, mirrors reflecting our internal landscape. They are not meant to be sources of ultimate fulfillment, for that fulfillment resides eternally within. A simple practice from Raja Yoga to begin addressing this is the observation of attachment. When you feel that familiar pang of anxiety, that rush of desire for a specific outcome from him, a text, a call, a declaration, pause. Don't suppress it. Instead, observe it. Acknowledge the feeling. I am feeling anxious about his response. Then critically ask, is my inner peace dependent on this external outcome right now? Witness the mind's clinging, its grasping. Recognize that this feeling of anxiety or emptiness is a vritti, a fluctuation of the mind, not the essence of yourself. Gently but firmly, redirect your attention back to your breath, to your inner center. Affirm, my peace resides within. My worth is not contingent on his actions. I am the sovereign observer of this feeling, not its prisoner. This is the beginning of detaching from the fruit and aligning with your intrinsic power. The fatal mistake is to confuse the journey with the destination, to conflate the act of loving with the specific form of love you expect to receive. It is to place the key to your internal kingdom in the hands of another. The Bhagavad Gita does not advise inaction, nor does it advocate for emotional coldness. Instead, it teaches conscious action, action performed with purpose, with heart, but without the desperate demand for a particular result. It is the wisdom of Radha, who loved Krishna with absolute devotion, yet without possession. allowing her love to be an expression of her own spiritual essence, not a chain on his freedom or a source of her suffering. This is the path to transcending the fatal mistake, transforming relationships from sources of anxiety into fields of spiritual growth and authentic self-expression. Within the landscape of modern relationships, the concept of chemistry often takes on an almost mythical status. We are told to seek that intoxicating spark, that inexplicable pull, that feeling of immediate, undeniable connection. This intense initial phase, often characterized by overwhelming emotion, rapid intimacy, and a profound sense of recognition, is widely hailed as the hallmark of a true bond, a soulmate connection. Yet, for the woman, on a path of deeper spiritual understanding, this very phenomenon, this chemistry, can become a profound illusion, a seductive trap that masks the fatal mistake of projecting our deepest desires and unhealed wounds onto another. The error is to identify this powerful, often chaotic emotional surge as true, conscious love, when it is, in many cases, the energetic signature of karmic entanglement, or the meeting of deep-seated projections, rather than a harmonious resonance of the you. Consider the common scenario. You meet someone, and the connection is instant, electric. Your minds seem to align effortlessly. Your bodies respond with an undeniable pull, and a sense of finally, this is it, washes over you. This feeling, while exhilarating, can often be the meeting point of subconscious patterns. Your psyche, unconsciously seeking to resolve past traumas or fulfill unexpressed needs, projects an idealized version onto the other, and their psyche, likewise, projects onto you. This isn't genuine seeing, it's a mirroring of internal landscapes, often fragmented or incomplete. The chemistry can be so potent precisely because it's activating deep, unresolved aspects of the self, promising a completion that only you can truly provide for yourself. This is the illusion, the maya of the senses and the mind, masquerading as profound love. The Bhagavad Gita speaks of the gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas, the three qualities of material nature that influence our thoughts, actions, and relationships. Often, what we perceive as chemistry is a potent surge of rajas, the guna of passion, activity, and intense desire. While rajas can initiate things, without the grounding influence of sattva, goodness, purity, lucidity, it can lead to obsession, craving, and ultimately, burnout and disillusionment. True, conscious connection, rooted in the you, is characterized by sattva, clarity, calm presence, mutual respect, and a steady, evolving affection, rather than a frantic, dependent attachment. The fatal mistake here is to confuse the intoxicating turbulence of rajas with the serene, enduring light of sattva. The danger of this intense chemistry lies in its ability to bypass the critical discerning faculty of the will. When swept away by overwhelming emotions, the mind, instead of observing and guiding, becomes entirely identified with the feeling. It loses its capacity for lucidity, for seeing the other person as they truly are, with all their imperfections, rather than as the embodiment of our projections. This is why many relationships born from intense chemistry often crash and burn. The initial high fades, and what's left is not the idealized image, but the raw reality of two incomplete beings who mistook a powerful emotional entanglement for a truly spiritual bond. The you demands to be seen, and to see others clearly, not through the distorting lens of desire or unresolved need. A common pattern emerging from this is the addiction to potential. You fall in love not with the man in front of you, but with the man you believe he could be, the man your projection has created. The chemistry is so strong because it's feeding this idealized vision, keeping you tethered to a fantasy rather than grounded in reality. The pain of disappointment that follows is immense because it's the shattering of your illusion, not necessarily a change in his inherent nature. This is why the Bhagavad Gita emphasizes seeing things as they are, understanding the nature of reality and illusion, and anchoring oneself in the truth of the self, rather than being swayed by transient phenomena. To break free from this fatal error, the Raja Yoga practice of discerning the gunas in relationships becomes invaluable. When you feel that intense chemistry, pause. Observe the quality of your emotions. Is it frantic, restless, demanding, filled with anticipation and anxiety? This is Rajas at play. Is it a calm, steady sense of peace, clarity, mutual understanding, and quiet joy? This speaks of sattva. Is it heavy, dull, confused, leading to inaction or delusion? This might be tamas. By observing these qualities within yourself and within the dynamic, you begin to see beyond the surface allure. Ask yourself, am I truly seeing him, or am I seeing my projection of him? Is this connection feeding my sovereign self, or is it feeding a craving of the non-you? The strength of the you, the power of the will, lies in its capacity to observe these powerful emotional currents without being swept away by them. It is the wisdom to know that true spiritual connection is not a blinding flash, but a steady, conscious cultivation. A meeting of two sovereign beings who choose to walk a path together, honoring each other's individuality while contributing to a shared journey. It is a love that emerges from lucidity, not from illusion. As Radha teaches, true devotion is not about losing oneself in the other, but about consciously offering one's pure essence without demanding possession, understanding that the greatest love stems from a place of spiritual freedom and self-possession, transcending the temporary, intoxicating illusions of mere chemistry. The journey towards emotional sovereignty in relationships inevitably confronts one of the most painful and pervasive patterns, the experience of abandonment. Whether it manifests as literal physical departure, the chilling silence of ghosting, or the emotional unavailability that creates a vast chasm within a shared space. The feeling of being abandoned triggers a primal fear, a deep-seated vulnerability that can completely derail our sense of self-worth and plunge us into a spiral of anxiety. The fatal mistake here lies not in the experience of abandonment itself, which is often an external event beyond our control, but in identifying the self with the abandonment, allowing it to define our intrinsic value and become the core of our identity. When the you becomes intertwined with the non-you of rejection, our spiritual relationships, and indeed our entire inner landscape, are profoundly compromised. Think of that gut-wrenching moment when his communication ceases, or the agonizing silence when he becomes emotionally distant. Your mind, untamed, immediately jumps to conclusions. I am not enough. I am unlovable. There's something inherently wrong with me. This is the mind, governed by past wounds and the ego's fear of annihilation, interpreting an external event as an ultimate verdict on your worth. This is the point where the distinction between the you and the non-you becomes critically important. The non-you comprises your body, your emotions, your mind, your experiences, and yes, the pain of being abandoned. The you, your true sovereign self, is the silent observer of all these phenomena, untouched by their transient nature. The fatal error is to allow the experience of the non-you, the abandonment, to eclipse the eternal truth of the you, your intrinsic wholeness. The Bhagavad Gita, through Krishna's teachings to Arjuna, constantly reminds us of the eternal nature of the self, Atman, and the temporary nature of all external phenomena, including relationships and their inevitable ends. Just as the body sheds old clothes for new, the self experiences different relationships, different roles, different life stages. To identify the self with the ephemeral is to suffer. When you allow the abandonment to define you, you are treating your relationship as your dharma, your life's purpose, rather than seeing it as a field where you express your dharma. Your dharma is to evolve, to love consciously, to serve your highest truth, irrespective of external validation. The fatal mistake is to lose sight of your primary dharma to yourself and the divine, in favor of a secondary, conditional dharma to another person. The pain of abandonment is real, it is valid, and it demands to be acknowledged. But it is not who you are. It is an event that occurred to your emotional body, your mental landscape. The sovereign self observes this pain without becoming it. The unconscious pattern is to internalize the abandonment, turning it into self-abandonment. You abandon your own peace, your own truth, your own inner sanctuary in a desperate attempt to reclaim what was lost externally. This self-abandonment is the true destruction, far more devastating than any external departure. To counteract this fatal error, we turn to the Raja Yoga practice of reclaiming your inner retreat from external silence. When faced with silence or perceived abandonment, your immediate impulse might be to chase, to analyze, to demand answers. Instead, make a conscious choice, guided by your will, to reframe the external silence as an invitation for internal retreat. This is not about playing games or being indifferent. It's about a profound act of self-reclamation. Here's how to apply it. When the silence descends, feel the initial pang of fear or sadness. Acknowledge it. I am feeling the pain of perceived abandonment. Then, instead of directing your energy outward in pursuit, gently redirect it inward. Recognize this moment as an opportunity to return to your you. Engage in a simple meditation. Close your eyes, focus on your breath, and visualize your inner sanctuary. This is your untouchable space, your private temple. No external event, no person's absence can invade this space unless you give them permission. Within this sanctuary, affirm, my worth is inherent, my peace is self-sourced. This external silence is a mirror, showing me where I have placed my power outside myself. I now reclaim that power. Use the silence, the perceived abandonment, not as a source of devastation, but as a potent catalyst for deepening your connection with your sovereign self. It is in these moments of perceived void that the you has the opportunity to shine brightest, reminding you that your wholeness is not external. Kunti, the mother of the Pandavas in the Mahabharata, faced immense abandonment and hardship. Yet her inner resolve and devotion never wavered. Her strength came not from external circumstances, but from her unwavering connection to her inner truth. The fatal mistake is to identify with the wound. The path to liberation is to identify with the healer, the sovereign self, and to use every experience, even the most painful, as a stepping stone towards an unshakable inner peace. This is how spiritual relationships, even when they end, become catalysts for profound growth rather than sources of eternal suffering. We have traversed the subtle terrain of relational pitfalls, uncovering the fatal mistake that often sabotages our deepest aspirations for spiritual connection. It is not an error of action, but an error of perception, a misidentification of the self, a surrendering of the inner kingdom to external forces. The pervasive anxiety, the pattern of choosing the illusory chemistry over conscious connection, the devastating impact of identifying with abandonment, all stem from this singular core misstep. Placing our intrinsic worth, our peace, and our very identity outside the sovereign you, attaching it to the transient fruits of external relationships. The Bhagavad Gita, with its profound clarity, relentlessly guides us back to the truth. The self is eternal, whole, and untouched by the comings and goings of the material world. Our suffering arises when we confuse the temporary with the permanent, when we allow the non-you, our emotions, our thoughts, our relationships, to dictate the reality of the you. The fatal mistake is believing that true love, true fulfillment, true spiritual connection can be found by grasping, by controlling, or by demanding a specific outcome from another. Instead, true love, in its highest form, is an emanation of the sovereign self, an offering born of wholeness, not of need. Consider the immense energy you have expended, consciously or unconsciously, trying to manage a relationship's outcome. The obsessive thoughts, the constant analysis, the emotional roller coaster dependent on his every word or silence. This is the mind, uncontrolled, burning through your vital spiritual energy. Raja Yoga teaches us to harness this very energy, to bring the mind under the command of the will, not to suppress desires, but to transcend them by understanding their transient nature. When you detach from the fruit of the action, your energy is no longer scattered in frantic attempts to control the uncontrollable. Instead, it becomes concentrated, powerful, directed towards your true dharma, your own spiritual growth and conscious expression. Imagine a beautiful, vibrant garden within your own being. This garden is your inner sanctuary, tended by your sovereign you. The fatal mistake is to leave this garden untended, its gates open, allowing external winds and the whims of others to dictate its blooms. Then, you search desperately for flowers in someone else's garden, clinging to their petals, believing their beauty is what sustains you. The teaching of the Bhagavad Gita and Raja Yoga is an invitation to return to your own garden, to cultivate its beauty with unwavering dedication. When your garden flourishes, when your you is firmly rooted in its own richness, then and only then can you truly share your bounty without depletion, and can a relationship become a joyful exchange rather than a desperate quest for completion. This journey is not about becoming emotionally cold or detached from love. It is about loving from a place of radical self-possession. It is about cultivating a devotion to your own highest truth, your dharma, so profound that it naturally extends to others without losing its center. It is about understanding that true choice is not about being chosen by someone else, but about consciously choosing your own sovereignty, your own peace in every moment. When you become the choice for your own self, when your inner world is your primary dwelling, then you become magnetic in a way that no strategy or manipulation could ever achieve. Your presence emanates a quiet strength, a knowing completeness that naturally attracts resonance, not neediness. The path to breaking free from this fatal mistake is a daily conscious practice. It is the practice of observing your mind without identifying with its fluctuations. It is the practice of gently, yet firmly, redirecting your will from external desires back to your inner center. It is the practice of embracing the pain of attachment as a signal, a teacher, rather than allowing it to be your master. Each time you feel that pull of anxiety, that urge to control, that sting of perceived abandonment, recognize it as an opportunity. It is an invitation from your you to reclaim your power, to remember who you truly are, beyond the ephemeral dramas of relationship outcomes. This transformation is not easy. The mind, accustomed to its old habits, will resist. But the rewards are immeasurable. An unshakable inner peace, an unshakable sense of self-worth, and the capacity to engage in relationships not from a place of lack, but from a wellspring of abundance. This is the true spiritual foundation for any relationship. A connection not built on mutual dependence, but on mutual sovereignty. Two whole beings choosing to share their journeys, reflecting each other's light, and walking forward with purpose. And what if the deepest spiritual relationship you could ever cultivate is, in fact, the one with your own sovereign you? What if his silence, his distance, or even the end of a relationship is not a punishment, but a profound, albeit painful, invitation from the universe to return home to the ultimate relationship, the one with your authentic, eternal self? As we conclude this exploration, remember that the wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita and Raja Yoga is not meant to be a theoretical philosophy, but a living practice. The principles we've discussed, detachment from the fruits of action, discerning true connection from illusion, and reclaiming your sovereignty from the grip of abandonment, are not abstract concepts. They are invitations to a profound inner transformation, a courageous journey from dependence to an unshakable freedom of being. The path of the sovereign woman is one of unwavering self-awareness. It means consistently observing where your mind attempts to place your happiness outside yourself. It means recognizing the subtle ways in which you may still be seeking validation from an external source, rather than cultivating it from within. It is an active, conscious process of gently but firmly redirecting your attention, your will, back to your own inherent completeness. This is not selfish. It is the most selfless act you can perform, for only a full cup can truly offer nourishment without depletion. Consider Radha, whose devotion was absolute, yet never possessive. Her love for Krishna was an expression of her own spiritual essence, not a demand for his return. This archetype teaches us that true love flourishes in freedom, not in chains of expectation or control. When you become sovereign in your love, you do not cease to feel or care. Instead, your love becomes pure, an offering without attachment to the outcome. This deep understanding liberates you from the anxiety of waiting, the pain of rejection, and the cycle of repeating patterns that erode your spirit. This journey inward, guided by your sovereign will, is the ultimate relationship. It is the foundation upon which all other healthy, conscious connections can be built. You are not fixed by another person. You are simply reminded of the immense power that already resides within you. Let every challenge, every disappointment, every moment of perceived lack in a relationship be a powerful signal, a divine prompting to return to your center, to the unshakable truth of your you. The true measure of a spiritual relationship is not its longevity or its external appearance, but its capacity to serve as a catalyst for your highest evolution, guiding you deeper into the truth of who you are. Embrace the lessons, embody the wisdom, and walk forward in your life, not as a woman seeking to be chosen, but as a woman who has already chosen herself, fully and irrevocably. If this journey resonates with your soul, if you are weary of superficial advice and hungry for deeper truth, then I invite you to take the next step towards embodying your full emotional sovereignty. This path requires consistent practice, a willingness to observe your mind without judgment, and the courage to reclaim your intrinsic power. Begin by integrating the observation of attachment into your daily awareness. The next time you feel that familiar pull of anxiety regarding a relationship outcome, pause, witness the feeling without judgment, and gently redirect your focus to your breath. Acknowledge, this is a feeling of the non-you. It is not my sovereign self. Then, commit to the practice of reclaiming your inner retreat from external silence. When silence or distance emerges, resist the urge to chase. Instead, consciously choose to turn inward. Use that space to recenter within your inner sanctuary, affirming your inherent worth. This intentional withdrawal of energy from external pursuit and redirection to internal cultivation is a powerful act of self-mastery. Your journey to emotional sovereignty is a continuous unveiling. It is a process of unlearning what society has taught you about love and relearning the ancient wisdom that true completion resides within. Embrace these practices not as obligations, but as loving invitations from your own you to step into your most liberated and powerful self. If you found clarity and resonance in this message, please consider subscribing to this channel. Share this video with a woman in your life, who you believe is ready to shed the chains of emotional dependence and embrace her sovereign power. Your engagement helps us to continue sharing these transformative teachings, fostering a community of women dedicated to authentic self-mastery and profound spiritual connection. Thank you for walking this path with us.